Hello and welcome back to Rise Gaming and more Lies of P. Today I'm back for a new, much more effective Ergo farm method for you to do in the later game. We're talking about something that's worth over 2,000 Ergo a run in under a minute, which is easily resulting in nearly 130,000 Ergo an hour, quite literally more than double the Ergo farm route that we covered for chapter 5, so it's pretty insane. Now it's not even that much harder, you just need to fight 2 strong enemies compared to the 1 as before, but we do have a method and general advice that will make this process a lot smoother. We can increase the damage to these enemies in a variety of ways and use specific equipment, as you can see, to crush them. It's not exactly a problem at all. Further, I have 3 ways that I need to address when it comes to increasing the actual amount of Ergo you're going to get per kill, so you're going to want that, so we'll start with that. First up, it's the P organ, of course, where we sit in the chair in the office at the top of the hotel and activate the P organ, and here we can get our different phases. Now, within these phases, you get different upgrades, and it's up to you what you get, but what we care about is these secondary options where we choose a second upgrade. As you can see, we can increase the Ergo upon eliminating an enemy, and it has a 1 next to it because it's not actually the only one you can get. It is indeed the first one and you can get it pretty much immediately, so that's great, but there's another level to it, much like the other things. By progressing into later phases in the later game, you'll eventually hit phase 3, where you can now get the second level of that increase. As you can see, increases Ergo upon eliminating enemy 2. So this is stacking up and adding up, and you're going to start to get more options to improve your Ergo through the P organ. The next thing we're going to cover though is going to be an amulet. So getting the increased amulet slot so you can maintain the ones that improve your damage while also getting the one that's going to improve how much Ergo you get. That's going to be worth it. You get the first amulet slot upgrade in phase 2, and I strongly recommend that. Once you hit phase 4, that is, you'll be able to get that 4th amulet slot. So again, another reason to go for that. Speaking of that amulet then, we are of course talking about the Hunter's Amulet, which also increases Ergo acquisition when killing enemies. This is found in chapter 7, just like the farm methods today. Specifically, it's found in the Lorenzini arcade basement, down in the wine cellar. Here we find an elite enemy, this horrible jester puppet that ambushes you. When it dies, it just drops the amulet like that. To make this easier though, I would recommend you prepare for the fight by having, say, the amulet that increases your damage to puppets, which is the Puppet Destroyer amulet, and also maybe run the electric grinder buff or an electric buff for your weapon in general. But to get to that location, we start at the arcade stargazer itself and follow this route. We head down the main hallway all the way to its end and through the gate on the right, which should be unlocked after you progress the area a bit. You will have to come this way in general. We follow that new corridor beyond the gate where there's a huge crack in the wall on your left and go through that. And then we can drop down the ledge and turn around and go into the tunnels down below. Turn left here and you'll see this ramp leading down into red liquid. You are heading into a wine cellar after all. Then pass through here by heading right and around to the right to leave through these open gates and up some stairs. But as we leave that wine cellar going up those stairs, we follow the path into a room we path straight through, exiting it on the left. Follow the new corridor left again, rushing straight down the long corridor until you hit that decay gas stuff. Veer right into the old shop to avoid that then, and turn right in the shop further in, which brings us down into a new wine cellar, less flooded by comparison. Finally, you'll have reached the wine cellar with the correct mini-boss in it, which again will try to ambush you from behind the barrels. You need to defeat it to get the Hunter's Amulet. Once you've done that, you've got it. But just so you know, there's actually a stronger version of this amulet in New Game Plus called the Hunter's Amulet +1. So there are stronger versions of this amulet that exist in future playthroughs. But now it's time for me to talk about the apparent 3rd way you can increase your Ergo numbers. The Noblesse Oblige, which is a boss weapon, well, without spoilers to tell you, it is crafted from a boss Ergo, and that boss is specifically the final boss of the game. It'd be a bit silly for me to recommend you run this in this Ergo farm when most people are going to be farming Ergo before they're at the end of the game or have even beat the game for the first time. So I'm just acknowledging it in this video. In any case, it appears to be one of the heaviest hitting weapons in the game, even if it is a very slow weapon, but this situation with the Ergo increase is very confusing. Officially, it comes with Ergo Release, which is a fable art that consumes Ergo to increase its damage. Actually, it's well worth using, apparently, because it hits super hard, but we were made aware of this weapon in the comments of my first Ergo farm video with this comment that explained that you actually get extra Ergo for every kill using that weapon. Since then, I've searched for a source of that information and found very little about that, but there was this comment on a Reddit post about the weapon too, also claiming it increases Ergo gain by about 12%. Since the other gains are about 10%, that's off, so I'm not sure about the number. And because there's so little information and actual proof about this increase when using this boss weapon. I'm unsure about whether I can say it concrete. I wanted to highlight and talk about it in this video so you guys know about it, and maybe there'll be some of you guys who actually have the weapon and are aware of this increase, or you can even say no, people are just BSing. Maybe you'll help someone, let us know in the comments. But in any case, it's the final boss weapon, so it's probably not that important to anyone unless people are going for New Game Plus, and if you are, it exists. Alright, so the method we're showcasing today. It's an easy one but requires slightly more progress in the game compared to our first Ergo farm that was in Chapter 5, because it's also in the arcade where we got the Hunter's Amulet in Chapter 7 in the arcade here. You will need to actually progress this area enough to unlock the shortcut that then results in the Ergo farm route being available, but in short, you just progress the main area until you run past two big pale white monsters that seem like mini-bosses, because they pretty much are, and as soon as you go past these, you know you're unlocking the shortcut for the Ergo farm method. Passing by them, you'll end up dipping into a shop that has plants for sale, and when you come out of that, on your left is a fountain with a merchant by it, or if you go the other way, you'll go unlock the shortcut basically. So here's how to run the route now it's unlocked as effectively as possible. In terms of equipment, I would recommend you run the Carcass Butcher's Amulet, because I do believe these enemies are that undead carcass type, they're the monsters, so this should increase our damage to them, so it's well worth using. Of course, you're also going to want the Hunter's Amulet equipped, so you're improving your Ergo acquisition when killing the enemies. The third slot's up to you. Anything that increases your damage is what I would recommend. After that, you're going to want to buff your weapon with fire damage, and we can use our grinder with the flame grindstone to do that as a way to infinitely repeatedly have the fire buff on our weapon. But of course, you can use consumables in the form of fire abrasive if you want to do that for some reason, but I wouldn't recommend it. Lastly, I want to recommend the honestly broken puppet string arm when upgraded to its full at level 3. This unlocks the frankly silly leap up into the air and slam down attack tied to it, as well as pulling you in as a gap closer initially. The leap slam is very high damage, so that's very good there, but it's also an evasive move at the same time. As you leap up into the air, you're actually moving your hitbox out of the way, and they're not just going to aim up, they attack normally. Against slower enemies that we're targeting here, that means while you're performing the attack, you end up dodging their attack at the same time, so faster kill times because of that too. So I would strongly recommend the fully upgraded string arm if you can run that and can get that. Alright, so here's the room. You run from the Stargazer into the now unlocked section of the arcade. Turning right into the shop entrance, which has plants outside of it, you'll find that fountain on the other side where there's a merchant. If we pass by that fountain and merchant, there's a door that you can unlock that reveals the corridor where the two big white monsters are, patrolling. The moment we're about to step out into that corridor, you want to buff up your weapon with fire and use any other buffs you're planning on using for this. Then just step out and start destroying the first enemy ASAP. As you do that, there will actually be an enemy spawn for a mini little enemy that drops from the sky. You actually want to trigger that because it'll fall down and it's a one-hit kill enemy. In any case, what I do is I step out and I instantly string arm the big mini boss by going for the full downward slam. This results in a burn and burst of damage immediately. Then I just do the same thing immediately again a second time. The enemy might be aware, but during the attack, as I mentioned, you'll fly over his return attack if he gets to do one, avoiding it at the same time. On the second land, the enemy should fully stagger, leaving them vulnerable to, say, a fatal attack. But fatal attack animations can be a bit slow, so if you can finish it off faster by using, say, light attacks or even a charged heavy instead, that could be actually faster, so I would recommend that. And ideally, you'd be killing that small enemy that spawned in at the same time. Maybe it dies when you did one of your Legion Arm slams, or maybe you had to like light or heavy hit it, but if you can cleave it while hitting the big guy at the same time, that's obviously going to be more time efficient. Next, we approach the second big monster and pretty much instantly string arm him too. That'll gap close and stagger him in a mini stagger, and if you have enough Legion gauge to do that twice back to back, maybe you've done some upgrading there, then absolutely do it because it's going to be very effective. But if you don't have enough Legion gauge to do that, maybe what you want to do after you land after the initial string arm is to full heavy charge to stagger him in true, and then go for the fatal attack because it'll provide you enough damage to finish him. Or like I said, you could finish him off in a different way, whatever's quickest for you. Ultimately, you want to do this as smoothly and efficiently as possible to bring the time for the clear as fast as possible. Technically, after you've cleared it, you can run back to the Stargazer to reset, but but honestly, I'm just using the Moon Phase Pocket Watch to instantly teleport back to the most recent Stargazer, which is the arcade one anyway. I'd recommend you actually have that item on your hotbar so you can quickly use it and efficiently. Personally, I'm using the extra back menu, which requires you to hold down X on a PlayStation controller, revealing the extra menu so you can use it smoothly like that. You can even pull up this menu while, say, still finishing an enemy, like when you're in a longer animation doing a fatal attack or whatever, and then teleport back to the Stargazer the moment it's actually dead. That can be really smooth. When it comes to the values of this run then, each of these big pale monsters are worth 990 Ergo, with the P-Organ upgrade 1 and 2 for Ergo and the Hunter's Amulet equipped. Together that makes for 1980 Ergo, which is very good. But if you kill the little guy on top like I mentioned, he drops 135 Ergo, pushing us to a total of 2115 Ergo per run. The process takes roughly 1 minute if you don't have any downtime or mess up anything too badly, and that would result then in 2115 Ergo per minute for 60 minutes, leading to a hefty 126,900 Ergo an hour for something I believe to be very straightforward and easy. If you're able to clean up this process, you can easily get to the 130 and beyond, and I think it's a very good route, and now kind of, overshadows the Act 5 farm option that I highlighted originally, which rewards about half the Ergo, but obviously it comes sooner in the game and is easier. But yeah, there you have it. Another Ergo farm method explained, and one that's quite literally twice as effective as my first one. Naturally, this doesn't mean that the one, found in Act 5 isn't still great. It's definitely amazing at the time when you're in Act 5 or Act 6 as a best option, and maybe you hit Act 7 and this method's a bit too hard for you because you don't have like the proper strength or equipment, so Act 5 and that method might still be better for you initially. But if you can kill these two big pale mini bosses in roughly 1 minute, whatever way that you do that, it is undeniably extremely effective as a method. I have tried other methods and options for Ergo farming late game, but I have to say this one was just both the simplest and easiest, just the most reliable to showcase. So I hope this video was helpful to you, and if you guys have any extra tips to help make this better or other routes, let us know in the comments. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching, see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.